I think as long as we have a choice, we have to continue to choose. I think that each moment sort of provides us with the opportunity to either invest ourselves or to take away from ourselves in our inaction. And when I say inaction, I don't necessarily just mean not doing anything, but not allowing what you do to contribute to who you are. And what I mean by that is not putting yourself into what you are enough to appreciate yourself through that thing. I think that we really do have to give our all into all we are. And all we are is definitely all we experience. So it's about giving yourself to an experience truly. I think that right now I'm in a period of sort of learning to reinvest myself in a present way. Not necessarily just in terms of actions, but in terms of intent, in terms of the energy that I'm bringing to whatever I'm doing. And I think it's important to sort of open up enough space to do stuff like that. I think we always abide by certain conditions and restrictions that aren't necessarily set in place by us. And I think the moment that we, from a present standpoint, invest some type of appreciation, invest some type of, intent within the things that we do in order to get stuff out of them, then we will. I think sometimes we want stuff to provide us with specific material ends when it's really about the feeling that that material would grant. And if it's just about the feeling, then you can give yourself that feeling pretty easily. It's just about recognizing that all of our feelings are really in reference to who we think we are. If we already think we're deserving and somebody who's surpassed the achievement in a way, then we can give ourselves affirmation in kind to the achievement without actually achieving anything. And that doesn't mean that we don't actually go out there and do the things that we need to do, but it means that we're present enough to actually appreciate what's in our current vicinity. And we recognize that the first step always reveals the second. It's not really about imagining the whole thing at once, but recognizing that each step is a successive win. The second we start acknowledging each step as a relative peak, is the second we'll actually be able to climb a lot more steadfast. I think when we give ourselves affirmation in proportion to us actually taking a step and learning to appreciate ourselves through the things that we do, we sort of bypass a lot of our own mental barriers, a lot of our own mental filtering. I think that sometimes we get in this disposition in our head that our action doesn't really tend towards anything, or that we don't really need to do anything, or that, our self-care is sufficient, or stuff like that. I don't necessarily mean that our self-care is not doing its job. I don't mean that at all. But I think there's an aspect of self-care that I've realized that truly did shift the way at which I was living my life. And that's actually pouring yourself into your self-care, like pouring yourself into the intimacy that you're breathing with the life that you're living. And what that means to me is really with the small things, like even right now, like as much as appreciation as I can give myself in this moment, I'm choosing to give because there's no other opportunity to give myself this in this moment. And I think the same thing works with every single moment that we encounter. I think sometimes we have to recognize that we're doing ourselves a disservice sometimes in depriving ourselves of the appreciation that currently be within our vicinity, like the stuff we can give ourselves. And sometimes we have to love ourselves enough to give ourselves stuff constantly. But the thing I've realized is it doesn't have to be a constant thought. I think that a lot of who we are in our mental processes are rehearsed. The way that we go about the world and the way that we see ourselves is sort of in reference to what we always have seen ourselves as. Any thought that we currently have is always in reference to the millions of thoughts that we had in the past that have led up to this current mode and framework of thinking. I say all that to say that we can change that framework, that way of thinking. We can change our way of being and change who we are. So giving your all to all you are is really recognizing that all you are is all you give. And when we give to ourselves in a very intentional way, in a way filled with our own love and the positivity, we learn to experience it in pretty much everything we encounter because we won't leave with that thing. I used to say that beauty never escapes the moment. We do, and I don't mean that to say we aren't there, but to say that if we are in our mind, then we can't really be present. We can't really be one with the moment and one with our experiences, that we're one with our own, separation from it. I think that sometimes we have to take a step forward from our mind long enough to actually appreciate all that we can give to the moment. And what we can give to the moment is never really in reference to anything else but what is currently here. It never is. I think sometimes we reference our current ability and capability to our previous or to our potential future without recognizing that that doesn't really matter. It's really about doing what you can with what you have. And after that, there's nothing left. After you do your best, there's nothing left. And that's why I think doing your best is sort of so rewarding and so freeing. Because when you do put your all into what you do, you leave it all on the court in a way. Then you don't really have to think about it. There's nothing to think about. And in that way, you align yourself with the things that you actually want by at least admitting to yourself that you did what you could. And the rest is out of your hands. The rest is truly out of your hands. And so if it's out of your hands, it shouldn't really be in your mind. I think that when we get into the habit of trying to control every single ounce of our circumstances, every single aspect of everything that happens to us, we lose a lot. And I don't think we just lose a lot because of the circumstance itself, but because of how we relate ourselves to the things that we want to go away. In the same way, if we relate ourselves only to our problems, how can we get rid of our problems without getting rid of part of ourselves? It's always about what we give to ourselves, and it's always about what we take away as well. Just as we're the main one who can judge us, the only one who can really give ourselves that type of labeling, that type of identity. We're the only ones that can take it away. We're the only ones that can truly take away those aspects of ourselves that truly hinder us from being able to be who we are. And I think when we get so caught up in our own thought and our own, I guess, associations with these things, we sort of lose our ability to move forward. Because we aren't really pouring ourselves into what is. We're pouring ourselves into our own thoughts and ideas that have nothing to do with what is. And that's not to say we shouldn't think, but to say that at the very least, we should recognize that our thoughts do tend towards certain actions. And if we want our actions to take place in the present, or at least be in a positive or present sense, then we have to give that to ourselves intentionally. I think all that we really can do is be ourselves. All we really can do is occupy the space that we're currently occupying. There's no other way to go around it. And in recognizing that all you really can do is be where you are, then all you really can do is appreciate what's around you. All that you really can do is appreciate what's within you in kind. I think when we learn how to sort of live life in a sense of not always separating the two, you sort of learn that everything that you experience in an internal sense is always reflective of the things outside, either one way or another. Either we come into a situation with a current energy, a current feeling, a current whatever, and the situation changes because of that, or we change because of the situation. But either way, we're always syncing ourselves to what is, or what is always syncing itself to us. And I like to think that it's us, who creates the world around us. I think it's coming from us. So when we bring certain feeling and certain energy and certain thoughts into certain situations, we're either building or breaking. And I think it's more important to invest and constantly try to build. Like, we lose nothing in trying and gain everything in success in this sense. When you're sitting there, reading like you would usually read, instead of just reading, reading and giving yourself gratitude for being able to read and reading something that you're interested in. Just changing the way you feel about the mundane and familiar things that you do in your life and breed a better sense of intimacy with the life that you're living. I think when we do that, there's really nothing else that life has to provide us in order for us to feel satiated. I think a lot of us want to feel satiated, like what we're doing is enough, like what we're doing is enough to get us to where we want to go. And I think it's that presence that we give ourselves that gives us confidence into wherever we have yet to go. Because it allows us to not reference or value and our love for who we are and how things look alone. And in that way, it starts to be inherent to us. And that's what I feel like confidence is a certain amount of trust with yourself, a certain amount of commitment to who you are, and recognizing that the commitment is something that you want to be committed to. I said this in previous videos about how we get addicted to certain ways of being. We literally get addicted to the chemical reactions in our own brain when it comes to certain situations. And that's why a lot of our thoughts and stuff are rehearsed, because we have a certain association of what is us. And we keep bringing that stuff up because we think it's us, because we feel like it's inherent to us, and our subconscious has accepted it. And that's why I think it's important to pour all you are into all you can into all you are. Because when we give ourselves that type of newness to the moment, we establish new pathways in our own head. We establish new ways of thinking, new ways of being that actually allow us to be one with the moment rather than a constituent. We allow ourselves to actually take the reins to our own life again. And it's really the craziest concept about how we've sort of allowed our awareness to take us away rather than bring us into the moment. You know, we choose to be aware of certain negative things that could occur rather than actually focusing on the good things that we want to occur. And I'm a believer in the law of vibration, the law of attraction. And what we think is ultimately what we are. Not because what we think is all we are, but because what we think influences who we are more than anything. If you are able to think yourself into thinking you're most capable, most loving, most caring, most this, most that, you would probably have all the attributes that you truly believe that you did. And what we believe is always in reference to how much we accept a thought, how much we accept an idea and allow it to sort of perpetuate in our own head and create certain narratives. I think all in all, it's about really giving yourself to the moment so you can get yourself out of it. Giving yourself fully to what is so you can get yourself out of it. I think a lot of times we lose our ability to sort of have happiness and peace within our moments because we think that it has to come from somewhere else but us. We have to be the ones to give ourselves what we need in the current moment most of the time. And most of the time that isn't overzealous, because if it's us giving it to ourselves, it doesn't need to look a certain way. We just need to be a certain way in order for us to allow that certain thing to happen. All in all, I hope you guys are taking care of yourself, doing what you can, what you have. It's a lot on the way, a lot already here. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but that's okay. Because I feel like it's important to understand that I gave it my all. I really did. And I hope you guys do the same with your day. Hardcover, ebook, basically here.